The story started with the main character getting fired from his adventure party, but before that, the situation needed to be understood first. This was the royal capital Romule of the Berezan Kingdom. The adventure party was a B-rank party named Spear of the Wind God. Their leader and lancer was Went, the swordsman was Radens, the magician was Lilim, and then there was the main character, Rishit, a false enchanter. He was 40 years old. The party leader Went said that if Rishit's spot was taken by someone younger and with more stamina, they could aim for A rank. He said that they would be far better off without an enchanter. 2 years ago, Rishit had met this party at the request of the guild master. They had been an E-rank trio of rookie adventurers, and he had been a C-rank adventurer who was asked to teach them various things as a veteran. They had all been like him, kids from the countryside. They listened to him earnestly, took in what he said, grew a lot, and kept adventuring together as a party. Before he knew it, they climbed to B rank in just 2 years. Though they were a few years apart in age, they were his companions, or so he thought. Lilim said that the reason they stayed in B rank all this time was because Rishit had no room for growth, as otherwise it would not make sense. Rishit saw that they had all changed so much. He told them that he understood and that he was ready to leave. He asked his companion Suk to bring out a table. Suk listened and brought out a table from his inventory. When asked if this was not the table they always used when they camped out, Rishit confirmed it and said that in his hometown, lifelong friends carved their names into their spot at the table, met regularly, shared meals and drinks, made noise and reaffirmed their bonds. That was why he asked them to carve their names for him. He said that maybe someday, when they all reached A rank, it would be nice to gather again. The trio laughed and then destroyed the table. Went said that for someone they would probably never see again, they did not need it. Rishit knelt down and looked at his destroyed table. He laughed and said that they were too mean. Went said that he had never heard a story like that before and bluntly told Rishit that he was just an old man in their way. After a while, Rishit left the cavern. Suk, his contracted beast, was angry at the party, saying that he could not forgive them. Rishit told him to let it go already. Suk had been his partner since he was 20 years old. He had found Suk collapsed from hunger, cooked him a meal, and they had been close ever since. Suk looked like a squirrel, and his spatial magic had always been a big help to him. Rishit thought to himself that having someone who got angry for his sake more than he did was something to be grateful for. Suk asked him if he thought those guys would be okay, as even the house rent had been covered by him. Rishit said that maybe he had spoiled them too much. He said that Went had never paid back all the money he lent him. Suk told Rishit that he was way too nice. When Suk's stomach growled, he said that he had not eaten anything since morning. Rishit asked how about they go into some place, and Suk agreed. Rishit cooked green laffy and herb soup for him. The green laffy was a green rabbit-like monster, and also an ingredient that was relatively commonly eaten there. Suk asked Rishit to allow him to eat first, and Rishit warned him not to eat in such a hurry. They both found the dish very tasty. Suk asked Rishit what herb he had used. Rishit told him that he had used well grass. It was a plant used in healing potions. Its leaves were odorless, but crushing the blue flowers released a refreshing scent. It was said to be rich in the source of magic and was known as the main food of the Green Lappy Uengano. They both quickly finished their delicious food and headed out toward the guild. When Rishit was 16, he lost his parents to illness. After that, he set out for the royal capital, aiming to become an adventurer. 24 years later, he achieved that and more. Skills were something everyone in this world was granted at least one of as a gift from the gods. The one he received was appraisal. It was not suited for combat, and when he became an adventurer, it turned out his magical aptitude was only for support magic. Thus, he got a profession that enhanced others' abilities, an enchanter. Generally, in a party, it was common sense to have a magic user such as a mage who could also handle support spells. That was why an enchanter, who relied solely on support magic, was an unpopular job. Naturally, no one wanted to team up with him. He thought a lot about how he could be better, and in the end, even outside of battle, he focused solely on support. Letting his companions shine, he paired up with all sorts of people, cooking, washing, gathering information, negotiating, and before he knew it, he found himself in a flow of time different from his homeland. But the result of all of this was him getting betrayed by his team. Suk said that the way he saw it, Rishit did not even need to form a party. Rishit asked him what he meant, and Suk explained that he cared too much about others. He said that being in a support role was important, but it was also important to know what he wanted to do. Rishit listened to him and thought about what he actually wanted to do. After their discussion, Suk and Rishit decided to leave the capital to start fresh, as they had no real reason to stick to it. Rishit said that he had been based in the capital for so long that it would not hurt him to go far away for once. Suk asked about the countryside, as houses were cheaper there than in the capital. Rishit said that for now, they should check the map at the guild and decide from there. Suk agreed, and after a while, they arrived at the guild and stared at the map. Rishit said that he did not care about the distance from the capital, but he was thinking about how easy it would be to get supplies. The capital sat almost in the center of the kingdom of Berezin. The country's southern region jutted out into the Pakya Sea like a peninsula. Suk suggested somewhere near the southeastern trade city Hakka. Rishit saw that it took 2 days by carriage from the capital to get there and that it was a city facing the sea. Suk said that he was not suggesting that place because he wanted to eat a ton of fish there. Rishit thought to himself that since the place was close to the sea, that meant fresh seafood would be easy to get. Suk looked at the map and asked about Lu village. Rishit said that it sounded familiar, and Suk told him that from there, it was an hour east from Hakka by carriage. It was not far from the neighboring country, so it was pretty good. Just then, Rishit noticed a big noise behind him and saw Minarl air. People were singing praises of him, and Suk asked if they had teamed up with him once before. Rishit said that they had teamed up about 5 years ago. Minarl was a young solo adventurer who used the skill Magic Sword to imbue his blade with any element except non-attribute magic. Back then, he had been 15, just a fledgling adventurer, and he was the second son of a baron from a knightly family. Now he was one of the top ranks. Suk said that he had heard Minarl never formed a party and asked why that was. Rishit guessed that maybe it was to avoid trouble. He knew that Minarl was good-looking and unbelievably strong. Things like that often made people of the same gender jealous. Rishit thought that he must have gotten arrogant after becoming so high-ranked. That was why, when Suk asked him to say hi to Minarl, he declined, saying that talking to someone like him would not do him any good. Just then, his turn came in the guild line. The receptionist recognized him and asked him what brought him there today. Rishit told her that he was thinking about relocating and asked if she could tell him about Lu village. When the receptionist asked about his previous adventurer party, Spear of the Wind God, he struggled to speak about it. The receptionist understood what had happened and told Rishit that he really had done a great job. Without him looking after them, they would have caused a lot of trouble, and they had been totally unreasonable, even nitpicking about payment. The party had went as the leader, but since he was not good at dealing with others, Rishit had been the one who handled negotiations, and the guild was merely an intermediary. Rishit asked if Lu village had a guild, and the receptionist confirmed this, telling him that Lu village was a small village with about 300 residents. However, because of its location, the area was often visited by high-ranking adventurers. Rishit asked if the village had some kind of dangerous problem, and the receptionist explained that between the village and the neighboring country lay the forest of Yomi, where there were many C-rank or higher monsters. Rishit grabbed Suk and panicked, saying that he was technically B-rank, but he had only ever fought as support in the back line, so he did not think he could pull this off. The receptionist told him that it would be fine. As for the village's defense, there were not just adventurers, but also a knight's fortress. Rishit asked if that did not mean it would be even more dangerous. The receptionist told him that it was fine. As if he put out a call, even high-ranking adventurers would team up with him, and she was sure it would be a breeze because it was Rishit. Rishit was happy to hear about her confidence in him, but later at a bar, when he discussed this with Suk, his doubts returned. He asked Suk what they were going to do, feeling like they were back to square one. He knew that there would be swarms of C-rank and above monsters, and he valued his life more. He wondered if he should pick somewhere else safer. Suk denied this, telling him that it was not necessary and that he should just do what he could do. Rishit asked Suk if he meant support and said that he was not sure he could keep up with high-rank people. Suk denied this, saying he had just had a flash of inspiration, and told Rishit that his support magic was quite unique. Rishit started listing his boosts, saying speed boost, magic resistance, physical resistance, and magic effect enhancement were pretty standard. Suk said that was not what he meant and told him that he could cast support spells on food. Rishit thought to himself that before a mission, he used to have breakfast, take lunch breaks, and after returning, he would often go out for dinner. He was always the one cooking and serving meals, and when he used ingredients rich in mana, he somehow ended up with food that had buffs. The reason was unknown, but during battle, he could just cast a spell that was not already applied to the food, so stacking buffs was easy for him. He told Suk that at first, everyone was confused about this, but now everyone loved it. Suk said that he noticed that even though potions existed, they did not see magic infused into food very often. Rishit agreed, thinking that there were places that granted healing magic but not healing food. Suk said that he had a knack for business. He said that since there were a lot of solo adventurers in Lu Village, a meal-buff diner sounded great. Rishit doubted himself, saying that all he could make was adventurer grub. Suk told him that in Lu Village, the shop fronts were lined every day with meat and other monster materials rich in mana, hunted by high-rank adventurers. Since Rishit's ability was to cast support magic through cooking, for a solo adventurer that meant getting the benefits of an enchanter without having to hire a party member, so he thought this was going to be a hit. Rishit asked if it would really go that well, and Suk asked him why he was getting so discouraged when he wanted a fresh start. Suk told him that there were people out there who would be happy if he used what he was best at, and that there was nothing wrong with having a place like that. Rishit thought about this, that even if he stayed in the royal capital, he would just be starting over from scratch again. He was just an unpopular enchanter, so he should at least try and give it his all. He thought about his previous party, whether one could accept requests on his own, whether Redden could look after his belongings and clean his room, and whether Lilim could manage her money. He wondered if, when he was gone someday, they would be able to eat properly. He knew that his worries would not end, but he decided he should stop now. He told Suk that it was 2 days by carriage to Heikia, and that it was quite a long journey. He told Suk that they should go to their destination, Lu Village. After a long carriage ride, they arrived at Ru Village. Rishit's back hurt after the long ride, but when he saw the village, he was in awe of its beauty. Suk said that it had a peaceful scene, and Rishit agreed, saying it was a nice place. Suk asked if the yellow plants were wheat, and Rishit confirmed this, saying that harvest time was coming soon. Rishit saw that the mountains way past the village marked the border, and Suk said that the forest at the foot stretched far. They saw the forest of Yomi, and Rishit said that it was closer to the village than he had thought. Suk said that there were tons of C-rank or higher monsters there, and that was why there was a night fortress before the forest. Rishit decided to first head for the guild. Suk said that he was starving, but Rishit reminded him that he had eaten bread in the carriage. When they went inside the village, they saw that it was livelier than expected. Rishit thought to himself that they were still out in the suburbs, and even if they went now, it would be too late. Just then, Suk noticed something like a dining hall and got excited. After getting closer, they saw that it was a 2-story inn. Rishit asked Suk why he was already worrying about dinner. Suk told him not to mind it, as either way they would need a place to stay that night. Rishit agreed and went inside the inn. When they entered, they saw that it was quiet and empty. Rishit knew that the inn was not closed. As they explored further, they saw a kitchen. Just then, a voice came from behind, asking them who they were. Rishit and Suk introduced themselves to the woman there and asked if they could get a room for the night. Rishit apologized for startling her, and the lady asked him if he was an adventurer. Rishit said that he had just arrived from the royal capital that day and asked if there was something wrong. The lady eased up after she saw Suk and apologized for her behavior, telling them that she could certainly prepare a room for them. Rishit was confused by this. The lady told him that there was a night orders fort nearby and that their cook had fallen ill. Her husband was working overtime there, so they could not serve decent meals. Rishit understood that the inn did not have a cook. The lady said that she could handle serving, but running both the inn work and the dining hall from morning to night was too much work for her. The adventurers coming to this village were mostly either based in Heikia or were higher-ranked folks stationed there. The lady introduced herself as Hannah and asked Rishit what he would do, saying that if he did not need meals, it was just 3 copper coins per night. Rishit saw that Hannah had a lot going on and asked her if he could borrow her kitchen. Hannah said that she did not mind and asked if a week without meals was fine for now. Rishit told her that he could actually cook for himself, and if she would like, he could make meals for her too. After a while, they entered their room, and Suk got sleepy. Rishit told him to get comfortable, and Suk said that they had shown up at one hell of a time. Rishit said that the fact that the knight's fortress was close to both the border and the forest of Yomi was a cause for concern, making the fortress's operation the top priority. They decided to worry about this later, and Rishit asked Suk what was in his inventory. Suk got excited, saying that it was now dinner time. When Suk opened his inventory in the kitchen, they saw that they had quite a few ingredients ready with them. They had flame bird meat, onions, garlic, ginger, salt, pepper, and even some flour. Rishit asked Suk if he had also brought some well grass, and Suk agreed. Hannah laughed and asked what they were going to make, and Rishit told her that it was called sukun. He first decided to finely chop the onion. Seeing the onion being chopped made Suk cry. Then Rishit decided to finely chop the garlic. He decided to use his appraisal skill on it just in case. He saw that the mana concentration was enough and added one more kitchen knife to his hand. Using both knives, he ground the flame bird meat into mince. After he was done, his hands got sore. Rishit wondered if this village had a butcher, as that would be nice. He mixed all the chopped ingredients and seasoned them with salt and pepper, and once it got sticky, he knew the mixture was ready. Now it was time for the well grass. He smelled the roots and saw that they had the strongest scent. The closer he got to the stalk and roots, the fresher the fragrance became, just like the flowers. He then lightly dusted the stems with flour, wrapped, and stuck the mixture around them. Suk saw this and said that he did not know it could be used that way. Rishit said that he had learned it from a merchant in the royal capital once. They had told him that he could use the sturdy stems of well grass instead of skewers. Once he had prepared 10 well grass skewers that also helped get rid of the smell, he started grilling them in the frying pan. After the flame bird meatballs were done, Rishit said that they should eat while they were still hot. Rishit, Suk, and Hannah tried the flame bird meatballs and found them delicious. Hannah asked why the meat's savoriness and spiciness hit at the same time, but the aroma was not as strong as she had expected. Rishit thought to himself that he had mixed in a lot of ingredients that gave a sharp kick to the nose, and the refreshing aroma of well grass worked perfectly. Rishit told Hannah that the skewer was actually made of well grass. Hannah was impressed by it, and Rishit told her that this dish was more common further east. Rishit then checked and saw that the food gave them the fury of lightning, a magic that boosted their stats. Rishit said that the enhancement was random, but this was a nice bonus, especially since Hannah's workload would probably increase now that they were there. He told Hannah that if she would like, she could try the sauce, as he had added red wine to the flame bird's juices. Hannah saw that Rishit had put the sauce on the bread so that nothing went to waste. They all ate and enjoyed the food. Hannah complimented Rishit, saying that adventurers could do anything. Rishit said it was by chance, and Hannah told him that he was being modest, as even just taking someone's idea and making it one's own was impressive enough. Rishit thought to himself that he had not always loved cooking or known a lot about food from the beginning, as he had just wanted to be useful to the party. He had learned naturally with that single-minded focus. He then remembered his previous party complimenting him, telling him that his cooking always made them feel energized. Rishit smiled at this, and Hannah told him that there was no need to be modest, as his skill, even if it was something he had just happened to come across, was now a part of who he was, and that should be enough. Rishit was taken aback by this, and Suk told him that he loved his cooking too. Rishit thought to himself that when he made this dish, he had been thinking about Suk and Hannah. He just wanted the two of them to enjoy it, and he just wanted to cook for them. He asked himself if that was really okay. Until he got there, a lot had happened. But still, he realized that he might actually like cooking. It was now night, and Suk asked Rishit how about he run the dining hall there. Rishit said that he got what Suk was saying but told him to calm down. Suk said that Rishit loved cooking and asked what the problem was. Rishit told Suk that he could not take this lightly, as this inn was really important to Hannah and her husband. An inn that was spotless and well-maintained even when the owner was away clearly showed how much this place meant to her. Rishit said that besides, he had never actually run a food business himself, and he still wanted to keep being an adventurer. He told Suk that after they made sure they could truly take the responsibility, learn the village well, and check the dining hall's condition, they would talk with her. Suk was impressed by Rishit, saying that he did not think he would have thought things through that much. Rishit said that they should head to the guild first, as he would rather not let his guild card expire. He said goodbye to Hannah, and now it was the morning of his second day in the village. The enchantment specialist, rank B adventurer, age 40, Rishit had nothing, and that was exactly why he could start anew. Rishit said that monster hunting might be a bit much, but herb gathering and other work, he was all for it. Suk was excited, and Rishit thought to himself that it felt like just him and his little partner could do anything. He arrived at the guild and found it impressive. The guild was surprisingly close to the inn, as it was just 2 houses down. Just then, they saw someone walking toward them. The person had silky blonde hair, an appearance just like a knight, and was a handsome man with a dignified bearing. Rishit recognized that the person was Menard and wondered why a magic sword was there. Menard was an A-rank solo adventurer who could infuse fire, water, wind, earth, and any other magic except non-elemental magic into his sword, and once in the past, they had been in the same party. Rishit wondered why he was in Lu village. They both struggled to speak. Suk asked him what was happening, and Rishit said that even if they had teamed up before, he was now talking to a promising adventurer while he himself was a banished old man. He wondered what he was even supposed to talk about. Just then, a bunch of adventurers came and greeted Manhwa. They said that it was their first time seeing the magic sword Manhwa, and a girl told him that she wanted to be looked down on by his blue eyes. They walked away as they headed to the royal capital. Manhwa spoke up, telling Rishit that it had been a while. Rishit laughed shyly and told Manhwa that he had grown up. He then called himself an idiot in his mind, because that sounded like something an old uncle would say. Manhwa agreed that it had been a long time, as the last time Rishit had taught him, he had been 15 years old, so he had grown, and he was a bit taller since then. Rishit said that was not what he meant, and that it was just amazing that he had become an A-rank adventurer. Manhwa cut him off and asked him about himself. He remembered that Rishit had been a member of the Spear of the Wind God. Rishit told Manhwa that he had left the party the other day. Manhwa was confused by this, and Rishit said that he was an enchanter, not an attacker, and they seemed to want someone stronger. He then said that he had basically been kicked out. Manhwa got angry at this, and Rishit thought to himself that Manhwa's killing intent was leaking out, and it was scary. Manhwa apologized, saying that he had slipped up, and Rishit asked Manhwa about him and why he was there. Manhwa told him that the request had been passed down from the royal capital. He had heard that compared to last week, there were fewer adventurers using this village as their base. Rishit asked if it was about the fortress cook collapsing, and Manhwa agreed, saying that apparently it was hard for him to use the inn that adventurers usually stayed at. Rishit asked him about himself, whether he was renting a house. Manhwa confirmed this, and Rishit said that this was as expected. He thought to himself that even though it was not his main base, he actually had one there. He guessed that the income difference between them was on a whole other level, and that explained why his previous party members had been so fixated on becoming A-rank. Manhwa asked Rishit what he had been up to, and Rishit said that he was all about home cooking and could cook for himself. Manhwa said that he remembered the soup Rishit had treated him to when they were together before, and that it had been really delicious. Rishit was surprised that he remembered that. Manhwa said that the food had had his support magic on it. Rishit confirmed this, saying that the boost from the magic effect had worked great with it. Manhwa complimented him, saying that it was amazing, as normally people would not think it was possible to cast support magic on an object. He then got angry, saying that even with this, his previous party members had just gone and used Rishit for their own gain. Rishit told him that it was okay and that he should not get mad. Suk said that Rishit's support magic was seriously overpowered. Rishit said that he did not think they would have thought that far ahead, as he had been the one who suggested they should join another party in the first place. Manhwa was shocked by this. Rishit said that young people worked so earnestly, and at 38, anyone would want to cheer them on. Manhwa told him that he should think a little more about his own work, as it was absolutely unacceptable to underestimate himself like that, and that he would have to take responsibility. Rishit was shocked by this. As they arrived at the guild, Manhwa spoke to the receptionist, Morik. Morik asked Manhwa what was wrong and who the person behind him was. Manhwa told him that he was his mentor. He then said that he had accepted that last request with him. Rishit stopped him and said that he had not heard about this, and asked him if this was some kind of prank, as an A-rank job was impossible for him. He also asked what was up with being called his mentor, as he had not taught him anything. Manhwa told him not to be so modest, saying that he had taught him so much when he had just become an adventurer. Manhwa then asked him if he would go on a request with him again. Morik understood what was going on, and said that this had scared him, as he had thought that Rishit was actually his master swordsman or something like that. Morik asked Manhwa if he had been having a rough time back then. Manhwa asked him to please stop. It had been about 2 years ago that Manhwa had become an A-rank. He had been 18 years old when he reached A-rank and had been the talk of the time, but Rishit was sure it had taken an incredible amount of effort to get there. He had teamed up with Manhwa even before that. As he was just an enchanter, he had teamed up with him once and nothing more. Rishit had not known that Manhwa was so grateful to him. Morik said that he got the gist of it and introduced himself to Rishit. He told him that it was a straightforward monster subjugation request. As there was an A-rank mage stationed in this village, Manhwa often ended up cleaning up after her, and this case was one of those times. Rishit asked about this cleaning up, and Manhwa said that the mage was picky about the job she took. Rishit saw that they did not exactly get along. Manhwa said that she could freely control flames with her skill, but she was naturally at a disadvantage against monsters resistant to fire. Rishit asked if the target this time was that kind of monster. Morik said that it was the highest species of the inferno bird. Suk remembered the succoon he had eaten earlier, and Rishit realized that he was thinking about it. Morik said that no matter what happened, he would be there and told Rishit to ask Menarl about the Inferno bird's habitat and behavior. He continued, saying that according to the knights who had reported in, it was easier to find at night. Rishit saw that Rue village was cooperating with the knights. Morik confirmed this, saying that there were not many guild staff members in the village, and this place also served as a guard post for the night order at night, so if there were many reports of suspicious individuals or monsters, the information was shared first thing in the morning. Rishit said that it was an ideal defense, as in the royal capital there were factions, family ties, and all sorts of messy things even within the night order, but since this place was a remote border region, there might be fewer entanglements there. Rishit said that it was small in scale but properly organized. The Margrave in charge of this fortress must have been quite a capable one. Menarl said that they should go, and Rishit realized that the real battle would begin that night, and even with Menarl being there, he could not help but feel nervous. Menarl asked about the dish he had been talking about with Suk earlier that had his support magic in it. He asked if he could eat it too. He took him to Hannah's inn. He told Menarl that since it would turn into a night hunt, they could not skip a meal and should fill up first. Hannah arrived, and she was surprised to see Rishit. She grabbed him and asked what he had done to her. Rishit asked her what was wrong, and Hannah said that there was nothing normal about the tsukun from yesterday, and ever since she ate it she had been. But before she could complete her sentence, she noticed Menarl and controlled herself. She wondered whose child he was. Rishit asked Hannah if she knew Menarl and told her that they were about to take a job together. Hannah was surprised to see that Rishit could cook and work with A-rank adventurers and said that it was amazing. She then again asked what the meat from yesterday was, as when she tried to pick up the tub of clothes in the sink, it had been shockingly light. Suk told Rishit that she meant the food buff she got. The support spell Rishit had cast on the flame bird meatballs they ate yesterday. Since he had been so happy seeing Hannah enjoy it, he had forgotten to mention it. Menarl was surprised to hear that Rishit had really put a support spell on the food. Rishit explained that he had just put a tiny spell that boosted strength into the food. Hannah asked what he meant by little, as it had been a long time since she ate, and she still felt energized. Rishit was surprised to hear that it worked that well. Menarl said that Rishit did not seem to realize that his magic was rather unusual. Hannah said that Rishit could do all sorts of things, but he was kind of modest, and she was worried about his future. Menarl told her not to worry, as he was here. Hannah called him reliable. Menarl sneakily left, saying he would be borrowing the kitchen. He then put the wood in the furnace and lit up the flame. He said it was time to get to work. Rishit told Menarl that this time they were making a dish where he mixed corn flour with water, cooked it thick, and sandwiched meat and cheese between the layers. He said that it was kind of like making an omelette with cornmeal batter. He told Menarl that it was something eaten a lot in his hometown, and that he could use any ingredients for the filling. He said that if you used milk and sugar instead of water and added fruit or jam, it turned into a dessert. Suk said that he loved this stuff, and Rishit said that Suk ate it pretty often. He asked Menarl if he could cook, and Menarl said that if it was something simple, then he could. Rishit told him that he could handle the batter, and since Suk had flour, he could get some from there. Menarl first decided to add 1 spoonful per serving, which made it 3, but then he decided to make it for 4 people just in case. Rishit decided to use his knife to cut the brown goat meat. The brown goat was a goat-like monster distinguished by its brown fur. This was the last of their stockpiled meat, and he wanted to give it a spicy finish. Suk heard this and said that it sounded great. The brown goat, which used earth magic, ate soil after feeding on its main diet of grass. For some unknown reason, its body was muscular, probably to dig through hard ground, and it took quite a bit of strength to cut it. Its red, wild-tasting meat was so firm and springy that it felt like the knife might bounce back. After slicing it thin and long, he added onion, garlic, assorted spices, and chili. Rishit asked Suk if he had any tsuklime. Suk said he had it with him and added it himself, and once it was marinated, they were good to go. Menarl asked about the dough and showed him the batter. Rishit thanked him for his help and said it was time to grill. As Menarl carefully got ready, Rishit told him that there was no need to be so tense. Menarl asked if he should roll it out thin, and Rishit confirmed this, saying it cooked faster than he would think, so he should make it thicker than he felt like. He then decided to grill the meat next to it. He grilled the meat in the pan, and the heat from the chili hurt him. Suk said that the smell made him hungry, and Rishit said they should wrap it up in the dough. He placed the meat and cheese on half of the dough once it was about 80% cooked. He then heated it for a few more minutes, and when it was cooked enough, he folded the other side of the dough over to cover the filling and shape it. Menarl was a bit tired from this, and Suk said that the cheese had melted perfectly and looked great. Rishit said that they should quickly cook 3 more of these. After a while, the food was done. Suk said that it was the real deal, and Rishit said that they should eat while it was hot. Suk, Rishit, and Manhwa ate what they had cooked. They found it very tasty, and Rishit told Manhwa that the dough was perfectly baked. Manhwa thanked him, and Rishit thought to himself about the cheese and spicy brown goat, and then, after absorbing their blessing, the corn dough swelled up with a gentle sweetness of its own. He had no complaints, as it was insanely good. Just then he remembered that he had forgotten to use appraisal. He quickly added the black armor magic that raised physical resistance. Suk laughed and told him to just focus on eating now, and Manhwa told him to try to remember to rest a little. Rishit smiled and agreed with them. He said that the hidden MVP there was the onion, and Manhwa agreed with him. Suk said that he could still eat a ton more, and Manhwa told him not to overeat. Manhwa thanked Rishit for the meal and told him to leave the plates as they were, as he would take care of the cleanup. Suk said that he would carry the dishes to the sink too. Manhwa told Rishit that his familiar was a hard worker, and Rishit told him that he was a specialist in spatial magic. He clarified that it was not like he could do absolutely anything, but he could transfer things he touched to anywhere within his field of vision. Manhwa was amazed by this. As Manhwa and Suk had fun, Rishit thought to himself that he liked this time, day after day. He then remembered that he should put away Hannah's share of the food into the fridge. He then saw someone in his peripheral vision. When he turned around, he saw that there was no one there and wondered if someone had been there. He felt like someone had been peeking just now. He thought to himself that if someone needed something at the inn, they would just call out. After a while, Rishit prepared supplies, his sword and armor, and also some potions. Suk said that they had plenty of supplies, and Rishit said that he was glad he had so much, as there was no healer, so it could be a problem if he could not fight. As he left, he got nervous about the infernal phoenix, but Suk said that if it was with Rishit, they would be fine for sure. As they walked, Manhwa said that there was something he was curious about. He asked Rishit if he had ever cast his support magic on himself. Rishit thought about it and said that it almost never happened. He thought that maybe he could use it to boost speed during a retreat or something. Manhwa asked him what was up with that, and Rishit explained that it would be more effective to cast support magic on younger, more agile people than on an old guy like himself. He did not have any physical enhancement skills, so staying out of the way was better than causing trouble. Manhwa said that it was like that. Rishit got scared by this, and Manhwa clarified that he was not criticizing him or anything. It was just that he thought it was very much like him. Manhwa explained that Rishit could have cast support magic on himself and taken the front line, but instead he did this, so he was really self-sacrificing. He then told him that he did not have to treat himself so roughly, and that was why he would prove Rishit's true ability himself. Rishit thought to himself why Manhwa was doing all of this, as he was just a guy who had treated him to soup once. He wondered if he could really trust him. Rishit thought about the meal they made today and knew that it was absolutely amazing. He decided to try trusting Manhwa this time, and it was his turn to rely on him. Manhwa said that a sighting of the Hellfire bird was near the night fortress in the rocky area, and apparently it did not stay in one place for long. They all decided to go, and Rishit said that he would do his best. Manhwa told him that he would be fine. They departed for their adventure. We jump to the past, when Rishit and Manhwa teamed up for the first time. They were camping out, and Rishit was preparing a soup for himself and Manhwa. He asked Manhwa if he was born into a knight family, and Manhwa confirmed this, saying he was the second son, and that he had an older brother. Rishit said that brothers sounded great, as he was an only son from the countryside and had always admired that sort of thing. He noticed Manhwa looking sad and asked if something was wrong. Manhwa told him that a lot had happened to him, and that he had run away from home. He said he had lost sight of his own sense of chivalry. Back in the present, at the northeast of Rue village, in the forest of Yomi, Rishit and Manhwa arrived at the rocky area where the Hellfire bird had settled. They saw the rocks, and Rishit asked if those rocks looked unnatural. Manhwa said that it must be the bird's nest. Rishit said that an A-rank Hellfire bird was a fire attribute monster, so it built its nest among rocks that would not burn. Rishit noticed that the forest was awfully dense. Suk reminded him that C-rank monsters were all over the place, and Rishit told him to stop scaring him. Manhwa said that it was way too quiet, and Rishit replied that maybe the Hellfire bird had settled there and driven the others away. Manhwa suggested that they scout the area a bit. Just then, a sound came from behind Rishit, and he got scared by it. Manhwa informed Rishit that someone was coming. Rishit wondered who else, other than them, would be wandering around a forest like this. Just then, a group of knights appeared and asked them who they were. Manhwa calmed Rishit and told him that it was all right, as they were from the nearby fortress and were members of the Knight Order. The knights recognized Manhwa and said it was fancy meeting him in a place like this. Their leader asked Manhwa why he was there, and Manhwa told him that they were there for the extermination request of the Hellfire Bird and that there should not be any problem. Suk told Rishit that something felt tense there. Rishit remembered what Morik had told him, that the coordination between the knights and the adventurers was going well, but he sensed personal hostility toward Manhwa. He wondered what was going on. The knight captain said that he did not recognize the other face. Rishit introduced himself as a B-rank adventurer. The knight laughed at this, saying he could not believe Manhwa had actually teamed up with him. Rishit asked what he meant by that, and the knight saw that Rishit did not know a thing. He told Manhwa that he should properly tell his partner about his past. The knight said that Manhwa was a coward who had been expelled from the Knight Order, and that even if he made a name for himself as an adventurer, he would not be forgiven. Rishit was shocked to hear this. After a while, they set up a camp, and Rishit offered a drink to Manhwa, saying it would make him feel refreshed. He said that it was lemon and honey juice that he had shared with Hannah the other day. Manhwa thanked Rishit and looked sad. Rishit noticed this and told Manhwa that before, he had once told him that he became an adventurer because he had lost sight of chivalry. Back then, he had not seemed like he wanted to talk about it, so Rishit had not asked for details, but now he asked if Manhwa could tell him about it, if he did not mind. Rishit said that it must have something to do with what had just happened. Manhwa paused and then said that he had always admired his grandfather and had wanted to become a noble knight like him, but everything had changed from that moment. When he was 6 years old, from the moment he received his skill, he had started sparring with his older brother. He had lost many times, but his brother had told him that he had improved. Manhwa would tell his brother that he was as strong as ever and that he still could not match him. His brother thanked him and told him that with his earnest heart, Manhwa would catch up soon. Their father then came and told them well done. Manhwa ran up to him and asked if he had been watching them. Their father confirmed this and said that both of them were sons the Era family took great pride in. The Era Baron family had started with their grandfather being a newly appointed noble, awarded the rank of Knight Baron for his loyalty to the nation and the Belson royal family, as well as for repeatedly preventing disasters caused by monsters. That knight's spirit had been carried on, and through his matchless loyalty, they had been granted the title of Baron during his father's generation. Luger, his older brother, had been raised under his father. He was beautiful and intelligent, and was destined to be the next head of the family. He was also the goal Manhwa aimed for. After a few days, the time came for Manhwa to receive his skill. His father told him that it was okay, as everyone went through this. Luger told him not to end up like a half-baked man like him. Manhwa complimented him, saying that even his skill, the blessing of the earth, was a wonderful one. Those who wielded swords were granted legendary skills. Manhwa's grandfather had possessed a skill called Godspeed. His father had possessed a skill that heightened both foresight and kinetic vision several-fold beyond that of an ordinary man. For the nation, the very reason for the Era Baron family's existence was knighthood. It had never been expected that Manhwa would succeed as a magician. When the priests saw Manhwa's skill, they were shocked, saying it must be some kind of mistake. They said that they had heard rumors, but it was real after all. Manhwa had a skill called Magic Sword, a skill that no one in the country had ever possessed. After this, as Manhwa wandered around the mansion, he overheard his father telling someone that Manhwa would be the heir of the family. The soldier asked why he would choose Manhwa, the second son, instead of Luger. His father said that magic swordsmanship was special, and though he was a swordsman, Manhwa possessed skills that could handle monsters of every attribute. With that, they could greatly reduce the number of personnel in the mage corps. It was an existence beyond comparison to Luger. Their father said that what the Era family needed above all else was a strong sword. Manhwa then saw that Luger had been listening to all of this outside their father's room. That year his brother joined the knights, and from then on, he never spoke to Manhwa again. 5 years later, Manhwa devoted himself solely to honing his swordsmanship. He said that if his father's words were true, one day he would hand the family headship to him, and that would be unavoidable. But he did not want to leave things as they were with his brother. He knew that skills did not matter, and he wanted to become a sword that protected someone. Manhwa thought that if he became a fine knight, then maybe someday he would be able to smile alongside his brother again, and he truly believed that. One day during the examination, Luger spotted Manhwa and greeted him, saying it had been a while. Menarl was surprised to see his brother. Everyone saw that Menarl of the magic sword was there, and Luger himself was acting as the examiner, and there was no way they could win this. It was the squire enlistment exam, and Luger told Menarl that this was the first step toward becoming a knight. Menarl asked if it was alright now and asked about what had happened back then. Menarl said that he still wanted him to inherit the family. Luger said that their father's decision was absolute and that it did not bother him anymore. Luger brushed this aside and told Menarl to come at him seriously, as he would see the knight spirit that lay within Menarl, just like in the old days. Menarl became happy upon hearing this, but in the spar, Menarl lost. Menarl knew that his brother's skill allowed him to manipulate earth and green magic, and wondered if the blessing of the earth could also control things made from minerals. When his father heard about the disturbance, he told Menarl to give up. Menarl later learned that his brother married that instructor's daughter, and it was a staged farce put together by his brother, who despised him and his instructor. Though a knight, not of noble birth, perhaps to the instructor the existence of the heir family would be further strengthened if Menarl, with his rare skill, became its heir. Menarl found this intolerable. He knew that his father had long been losing in the struggle for power. He chose to secure the barony's peace by tying his elder brother to allies within the Knight Order as his successor. Even though he never cared about the family estate, he wanted to protect someone. He wanted to be strong, to surpass someone. That position he gained by bringing others down. He wondered if that was truly something that mattered. He did not even know how to truly put it into words. He then left his family. Rishit apologized, saying he had made him talk about painful memories. Menarl said it was all right, as he had always wanted someone to listen to it someday. He had never been able to say it until now. It was around that time that he was introduced to Rishit through the guild. He had lost sight of his own sense of chivalry. He was lost. When he left home, he could not help but wonder what he could still accomplish. Knight or adventurer, different roles, but still a sword that protected people. He wondered if that was really the same path he had yearned for as a child, the path of his grandfather. Rishit wondered if it was truly something worth clinging to, even to the point of abandoning the heir family. Back when they first met, Rishit had told Menarl not to overthink so much. He said that he could not say anything irresponsible, but he did not think Menarl had changed at all. Using his swordsmanship as an adventurer, caring nothing for rank or status, that meant he had only changed the one he pledged loyalty to. Rishit said that he had only become an adventurer in the first place just to make a living. His feelings toward strength were not as strong as Menarl's, and he sincerely respected that. Menarl said with a wry smile that he could never even come close to Rishit's level. Rishit told him that there was no need to be modest. He said that he had a good eye for people and told Menarl that as long as he kept that sincere desire to be a sword that protected someone, he would surpass him in no time. Menarl was reminded of his brother. Back in the present, Menarl said that he himself had been trapped by his own skills for a long time, but Rishit had saved him from that. He said that if he had not met him, he would not be who he was today. Rishit thought to himself that even someone like him could be of help to someone else, and maybe that was something to be proud of. He had never really talked about things like this with his previous party members. People all changed eventually, but there were things that never changed, and that was a happy thing. Suk cried upon hearing this story, and Menarl petted her. He said that this was the first time he had ever heard such a good story. Rishit told him that he had been asleep back when he met Menarl. Rishit thought to himself that being fired had not hurt him inside, but because of that, he had gotten to know Menarl like this. In his 24 years as an adventurer, he had never really known what might happen. They both got ready, and Rishit said it was time to get back and that they should resume their hunt for the Hellfire Bird. Menarl agreed, saying it had gotten completely dark. Rishit stacked up the chairs and cups and told Suk to put them away. Menarl then noticed something and grabbed Rishit, telling him to look out. A sudden burst of flames attacked them. As they both got back on their feet, they saw the infernal firebird. Suk said that the Hellfire Bird was coming at them. Rishit told Suk not to stray away from him. Menarl told Rishit to cover him. The Hellfire Bird was an A-rank monster. It had fire attribute resistance and was weak to water. They saw that it had been driven out of its nest, and it was furious. They both knew that it was troublesome. Rishit saw that the firebird was huge and wondered if they could really take it down. He then locked in as he realized that they had no choice but to do it. Rishit said that he would heighten Menarl's ability. He applied the skill Blink like a shooting star to Menarl, and they both got ready to fight. Menarl told Rishit that it helped him a lot and charged at the firebird, swinging his blade at it and using his skill, Aqua Spada, water blade, to attack its wings. But the blade went right through it, and they both realized that it was an illusion. Menarl landed back on the ground, and Rishit said that the Hellfire bird was pretty clever. Menarl said that its reaction speed was faster than theirs. Just then, the Hellfire bird increased its flames and covered the whole area in fire, also launching its feathers, covered in flames, at them. Menarl said that they were at a disadvantage in the air, and that if they could somehow bring it down to the ground, it would be better. Just then, the Hellfire bird charged at Rishit and tried to attack him. Rishit ran away and told Suk not to fall. Rishit barely dodged, and Suk told him that he had a brilliant idea. He said that he would send Menarl and launch him right above the infernal bird. Rishit remembered that if something was within Suk's line of sight, anything he touched, whether a person or an object, could be sent flying. Rishit realized that it could work. He told Menarl that Suk had an idea and asked if he could handle it. Menarl asked what it was, and Rishit said that it was the same method as when they were washing dishes. Suk would launch him up. Menarl understood, and Rishit handed Suk to Menarl. Suk asked Menarl if he could do it, and Menarl said yes and told him to do it whenever he was ready. Suk focused and charged his magic. Just then, Rishit remembered that since Suk was on Menarl's shoulder, he would end up flying too. He saw that Suk had not noticed it and decided to leave it be. Suk teleported Menarl above the infernal bird and got scared and started screaming. Menarl swung his sword and attacked the infernal bird, making it fall down. Rishit saw that Menarl was falling and cast floating magic on them. Menarl smiled when he saw this and landed successfully, while the infernal bird crashed to the ground. They both shook hands and told each other good work. Suk was dizzy, and Rishit asked him if he was okay. Menarl told Suk that he had been a great help, and Rishit said that thanks to Suk's quick thinking, they were all saved. Rishit asked about the Hellfire bird, and Menarl said that they should put it in Suk's inventory, as the guild had a dismantler attached and they could sell it there. Just then, they both noticed something. We jumped to another scene to check on the Spear of the Wind God party. They introduced themselves at the guild, where an A-rank healer named Abikane greeted them. They were visibly surprised to hear that he was A-rank, and Abby quickly told them to calm down because they were being too loud. He explained that someone had told him there was a party that had been on a roll lately, so he had been advised to meet them. Through a guild introduction, the three of them decided to meet him, and Abby realized that they were closer to his age than he had expected. At the same time, Abby began hearing Lilim's thoughts. She was thinking that she had told Went to bring only handsome men, and that a little shrimp like Abby was not her type. Abby then heard Raiden's thoughts as well. He was doubting whether Abby was really A-rank and wondering what Went was thinking by bringing someone like this. Abby felt uneasy about teaming up with them and thought irritably that he was not a little shrimp, considering he was 18 years old. He also heard the thoughts of people around them, muttering that Went was at it again and that Rishit had drawn the short straw. Even though they were all from the countryside, everyone knew that Rishit had been the one looking out for them, while Went and the others never understood that. Abby began to grasp the situation. Went's party had been looking for new members, and the previous one had quit. He wondered if Rishit was the name of the enchanter who had been there before. Abby caught himself and reminded himself that listening to people's thoughts was a bad habit. It was because of his skill. When there were too many people around, he could not help it. That was one of the reasons he hated the capital. Went asked Abby if he would like to join them, saying that with him, they could reach A-rank 2 and aim for the top together. Abby immediately heard Went's true thoughts. He was glad the old man Rishit was gone, but it hurt that the one who had taken care of all the troublesome things was no longer around. On top of that, Went was struggling with rent. He wanted to cleverly rope Abby in and squeeze money out of him, since there was no way they would let an A-rank healer get away. Abby did not want to join their team, but he admitted to himself that they were strong. They had been recommended by the guild, so he was curious about their combat skills. Still, he knew that too much curiosity could get him killed. He decided to observe for now and suggested that they try teaming up first before making any commitments. An old man in massive armor joined them. Abby asked about him, and Went said that he had called him in today as a shield bearer. Abby thought it certainly made for a well-balanced party. The old man introduced himself as Halga, a tank and shield bearer. Abby introduced himself as a healer, and Halga cheerfully called him Abby, saying he was counting on him. Abby was taken aback by Halga's energy and wondered if this crew would really be okay. One explained that today's opponent was a venom worm. Halga said it was an Earth attribute monster. One added that it was B rank and apologized to Abby for making him fight below his rank, saying they still could not afford to let their guard down. Abby knew that venom worms had highly corrosive venom and that he needed to be careful. He then heard Went's thoughts again. With Abby around, poison was no longer a problem. They thought Abby was valuable and wanted to defeat the monster quickly so they could buy him into the party. Wen also realized that without Rishit, they no longer had storage support and wondered whether Halga should carry the loot instead. Abby sighed internally. At times like this, he tried not to read people's thoughts, but the inability to control it was a flaw of his skill. That was when he realized that Rishit had possessed a storage skill. Went was thinking that he had gathered enough people for now, but that meant his share would decrease. If it decreased, he would not be able to pay off his new weapon, so he planned to borrow from the others instead. Went declared that today Abby and Halga were only on trial, but he would make them want to join no matter what. Halga commented that Went was young but bold and that he did not dislike that. As they walked, Abby remarked that the grassland felt peaceful. Went warned him to stay alert, as venom worms often came out to drink water near forests. Abby noticed a nearby stream, terrain that favored venom worms. Suddenly, Lilim called out to Went, saying her shoes were melting. Went wondered if it was the worm's venom, and when she might have stepped on it. Lilim collapsed to the ground, crying that she felt sick, and began screaming at Went for not noticing sooner, complaining that the shoes were expensive. Went asked Abby if he could track the worm with magic. Abby replied that he did not have the appraisal skill. Went frowned and said that as an A rank, he should at least be able to do that much. Abby approached the venom and thought to himself that it was still too difficult. He then heard Lilim's thoughts, complaining that Abby was taking too long and that Rishit could appraise things instantly. She wondered if this was really all an A rank was capable of. Abby told him honestly that his magic was too weak to do it properly. Seeing their annoyed expressions, he apologized for his lack of power. He regretted not refusing the guild's request in the first place. At the same time, he realized again that Rishit had possessed appraisal, along with storage, 2 skills. That was extremely rare. Banish someone like that? He thought it was unbelievably foolish. Just then, a giant worm emerged from the forest. Abby immediately recognized it as the venom worm. Halga asked if it was finally showing itself. Abby just wanted to defeat it quickly and go home. Halga told Abby to stay behind him. Abby thought they should let Halga take the lead and move into proper formation. Instead, Went and Raiden suddenly charged forward, surprising both Abby and Halga. Abby wondered if they had planned any strategy at all. Went shouted for Abby and Halga to adapt as needed. Abby felt a chill. This was bad. Went then asked Abby to cast Thunderous Might on him. Abby was confused. That was a support spell, and Abby was a healer. Raiden told him not to hold back and asked him to cast it on him as well. Abby knew the spell. It amplified magic power, but it required recognizing the target's magic. Raiden barely had any magic to begin with. It was impossible. Meanwhile, Lilim cast an earth spear to block the venom worm. Went praised her and charged in, activating Gale's blessing, declaring that no one could stop him. He thrust his spear into the worm, but it did nothing. Went muttered that it was tough. Abby saw immediately that Went lacked the power. There was not a single scratch. Raiden told Went to switch out and let him handle it. Abby wanted to stop him. Raiden was a greatsword user, and a 2-handed swing would leave him wide open. As Raiden attacked, the worm spat venom at him. Abby instantly cast Shield of Light, blocking the venom and reflecting it back at the worm. Raiden realized Abby had saved him. Abby thought that at least with him here, they did not need to worry about antidotes. What would they have done if he had not been able to cast defensive magic? The worm was injured by its own venom and retreated. Lilim shouted that it was running away, but Went insisted it would not escape. Abby could not understand why they were chasing it. They had not dealt with it properly at all, and the danger was obvious. He tried to speak, and when asked what was wrong, Abby explained calmly that when fighting venom worms, they needed to be wary of both venom and tail attacks. The standard strategy was for Halga to block while the others attacked. Halga agreed immediately. Abby knew that was the normal flow of battle. Went snapped back, telling Abby not to lecture them, saying they had always managed without a shield bearer. Abby wondered why they had teamed up at all if that was the case. Then he heard their thoughts. They were shaken. They knew they could have been crushed earlier. They realized how limited their power truly was. Abby asked them directly if it had been thanks to the enchanter that they had been able to exceed their real abilities. The party froze. Abby knew he might get yelled at, but he did not care anymore. He continued, explaining that even with his large mana pool, it was impossible to maintain auxiliary magic continuously. What their enchanter had done until now was extraordinary. He told Raiden bluntly that his magic capacity was extremely low. With the enchanter gone, today's performance reflected their true strength. He then heard their thoughts, shock and disbelief. They remembered how Rishit had always worn multiple layers, enchanted food, and made them eat it. Abby realized that Rishit had been casting support magic on objects. Such a skill existed. He became intensely curious and asked who this Rishit was, when cut him off, saying he did not like Abby's attitude and that they should forget the conversation and leave it at that. Abby realized he had gone too far. He had let his emotions get the better of him and spoken too much truth. Went and the others chased after the worm, while Abby and Halba turned back. Abby knew his words had been harsh, but he felt strangely at ease. He had hoped to gain something from Went's party, but they had their own deep-rooted problems. Halba gave him a firm nod and said, "Well done." Back to Rishit and Minarl. After they had successfully defeated the A-rank Hellfire bird, they checked if there were any other Hellfire birds around. Just in case, they spent the night in the rocky area. In the morning, Suk was excited about the meat they would get from the Hellfire bird. Rishit told Suk that he was always like that, and Minarl said that once they reached the village, they should report to the guild and head straight to the dismantler. As they were walking, someone blocked their path and asked Minarl what this old man was doing there. Rishit thought to himself that being called an old man by a young girl stung a little. The person was Lady Belmera, and Minarl told her that she was being rude and should apologize to Rishit. Belmera asked why. Minarl introduced Belmera to Rishit, saying that her name was Belmera Diabarton and that she was commonly known as Belmera of the Ashes. Rishit said that he had heard about her. He thought to himself that she possessed fire resistance and the ability to freely control flames through the blessing of the Flame Emperor, which was one of the strongest blessing-type skills. He had also heard that she had an unusual background as a viscountess. Rishit then remembered and asked her if she was not the one peeking into the dining hall yesterday. Belmera told him not to call her out so casually and asked Minarl if this man was just a cook. Minarl told her that Rishit was a legitimate B-rank adventurer and his comrade. Rishit introduced himself as an enchanter and said that he had arrived in Rue Village a few days ago and was currently staying at Hannah's Inn. Belmera said that Rishit was probably useless and told Minarl that if he was going to bring people into this village, he should at least make sure they were useful. Rishit was unable to respond, and Belmera laughed at him. Minarl asked her to stop, and she told Rishit that he was free to come to the village, but should be careful not to trouble them. Rishit said that he would be careful, and Belmera left. They both headed toward the guild. Minarl apologized to Rishit, and Rishit told him that it was fine. Rishit asked Minarl if he had been talking about her earlier, the fire magic user who gave him so much trouble. Minarl agreed and said that she had a lot of issues and excessively disliked men who were not villagers. However, Minarl often got assigned tasks that she refused, so she understood him to some extent. Rishit said that it must be tough being a noble lady. Minarl told him that she did not particularly see him as an enemy, so he should not mind her strong tone. They arrived at the guild and greeted Morik. They told him that the Inferno bird had been successfully defeated, and Morik complimented them, saying that he was making profits as always. Minarl said that it was all thanks to Rishit. Rishit downplayed himself, saying that he was really just support. Morik told him that it was impressive that he could keep up with Minarl, and that alone made him good. Rishit felt shy about receiving compliments. Minarl then asked Morik if the dismantling shop was open, and Morik told him that it was. He added that the decrease in adventurers was thanks to that young lady. Rishit asked about the young lady, and Minarl told him that it was Belmera. Rishit was shocked, and then he remembered that Minarl had said many things that showed she cared about the village. He wondered if she held an important position like a village chief. Morik then told Minarl that Sel was coming back and that he should go say hello before leaving. Rishit was confused about who Sel was, and Minarl said that he had been thinking of staying in Rue Village for a while. Rishit was surprised to hear that Minarl was not returning to the capital. Minarl apologized, saying that it was a selfish thought, and asked if Rishit could continue working with him a bit longer. Suk told Rishit that they should tell Minarl about their future plans. Rishit remembered what he had wanted to do when he came to Rue Village and decided to tell Minarl. He said that he was currently renting a room at Hannah's place for a week, and after that it was undecided, but he was hoping to stay there in the future. He told them that in this village he had been thinking about opening a food buffet restaurant. Minarl and Morik were a bit confused by this, and Rishit said that everything was still undecided, but he had always loved cooking for his party members. Apparently, there were various enhancements that came with it, and he thought this could be a strength. With his appraisal skill, his support magic and cooking, he could be a help to all the adventurers, and he wished he could do something like that in this village. He also wanted to continue being an adventurer himself, and he had been thinking that maybe he could take requests that involved gathering food, like foraging for ingredients. He knew that if his abilities and Suck's storage were combined, they could do a lot of things. Menarl understood, and Morik thought about it. He said that he had never heard of support magic on objects and asked if it was a skill. Rishit said that he had not decided on a location or anything, as he had never done business with food before. He was just thinking that if Hannah and her husband would allow it, he could use the inn's dining hall until her husband returned. He did not mind being in a higher position, as he knew it was not easy for outsiders like him to start a business. He knew it was an amateur idea and presumptuous, but for now, he wanted to cook for everyone at the cafeteria. Morik said that he did not know how things would turn out with Hannah and the others, but he thought there was a demand for a cafeteria like that. Rishit got excited hearing this. Menarl said that he would be able to eat Rishit's cooking from now on, and Morik said that it was even better that Sel was coming back at this time. Rishit asked who Sel was. Before Morik could introduce Sel, a bird hurriedly entered the guild and landed on Morik's arm. Morik said that it was Sel's familiar. Menarl asked why it was only Fu, as he should always have a letter or something with him. Rishit asked Suck to interpret for them. After hearing what Sel's bird said, Suck told Rishit that it was something serious. When Rishit asked what had happened, Suck told them that a wagon heading to the village had been attacked by bandits. Rishit knew that this was bad. Morik said that fewer adventurers traveled between Hakia and the village, so the security had worsened. Rishit thought to himself that the problem of the cafeteria closing was something he had not expected to surface in this way. Menarl rushed outside, and Rishit followed him. They arrived at the area of the incident and saw many people lying on the ground. Rishit asked if they were thieves and said that they were all passed out. A person asked them if they were the adventurers the guild had sent. It was a lady, and Fu landed on her hand. She thanked Fu for the report and recognized Menarl. She told Rishit that he had quite a luxurious guard there. Menarl said that he had heard she was attacked by bandits, and Sel said that this was nothing and asked what they thought she came to the village with her father for every time. She asked Menarl who the person with him was, and Rishit introduced himself as Rishit, a B-rank adventurer who knew Menarl. He said that he had just recently come to Rue village. Sel was surprised to hear that he already lived in the village and asked how Belmira had allowed that. Rishit told her that he had already gotten scolded by her. Sel laughed and told Rishit not to take it personally.